All right. My dear fellow listeners and viewers, good evening once again, and welcome to another edition of the Dr. Narine Show. For those of you who have watched us in the past will know exactly what we do. And for those of you who are watching us for the very first time, keep in mind the whole idea of the Dr. Narine Show is to create a safe space for positive energy only and mutual respect. As we have known already that our guest this evening is supposed to be Nadira. However, we've had some technical difficulties, so we obviously were unable to bring her on live. I've had her behind the scene. We tried our best to get her connected. We were not able to get connected. Um, but we are going to have her another day, most likely Tuesday, next Tuesday, couple days from now. Something to keep in mind. I know many of you probably tuning specifically for that reason, but I'm going to spend a few minutes today to talk about grief, just a few minutes on grief because a lot of death is happening. And for those of you who maybe following us will know that I myself lost my mother about 6 weeks ago. And there are different people grieve differently and so forth. And it's important for us to kind of support folks who are going through some sort of separation, particularly as it relates to death. This is one of my areas of expertise, so I will be very pleased to share with you a few pieces. And so, for those of you who are probably going through some sort of lost, right, whether that be lost a sibling, a parent, and whatnot, kid, right, and so forth, there are few things that we can do to kind of embrace this whole situation here, right? Because at the end of the day, none of us can control certain things in life, right? We just have to kind of find a way to kind of work our way through it. And so the very first thing to do is to really accept the fact that the situation happened and really embrace all the emotion that comes with it, right? So some people, will embrace it in different ways. Some people will get, sadness and whatnot, which is okay and which is very normal. Lots of emotions will be happening. And so that's going to be one, the very first thing to do is to kind of accept that the person is no longer here. That's very first thing, because if we cannot get to that point, then it's going to be extremely difficult for us to kind of manage all the other pieces. And sometimes anger comes out as well too, right? We all react and do things differently. And there's no right or wrong way. The bottom line is everybody grieve differently, right? And you have to be in it before you kind of know, right? Because if we are not in it, the tendency is to kind of judge, because that's what we do as human being and as individual. I want to assure you that we will have Nadira to have her say on here and kind of walk her through, in terms of how she grieve and all of that. We try really, really hard to have her on here, but we just couldn't. And we want to make sure that you can see her clearly. We want to make sure that you can hear her clearly. But I also believe that things happen for a reason as well too, right? And so we'll have her hopefully Tuesday. Usually we do our shows on Sundays at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Nigeria time. But we are going to make an exception only because we've had some technical issue here today. All right. So to come back to the grief, I just want you to spend the time wisely. And also I wanted to come on live directly and let folks know that Nadira wouldn't be on here tonight. And I just wanted to reconnect with folks as well too, because we have not had this show for about 5 weeks. All right. And keep in mind as well too that everybody will grieve at their own pace, right? And they will grieve in their own way. So what that means is some people, it might take them several years to get back to some sort of normalcy, right? And for some people, they can accept it, they can move on. Not that they wouldn't grieve. It's just that some people are very much prepared, when it comes to death and so forth. Because the reality is today we're here, tomorrow we may be gone, right? That's the reality. But sometimes we tend to forget that, and we now we have to make sure that we're allowing people that space to kind of grieve at their own pace, right? We will never know how people feel when they're grieving, right? So people lash out in a different way. People, people do, things Sometimes that doesn't seem to be normal and things of that sort, right? Because debt separation is a very tough thing, right? But you have to be in it to kind of understand it and to kind of get it. Another key thing, when it comes to debt and separation and so forth, is to really seek professional help, right? Um, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame to this at all. So if I work in that profession, and that's what we do. We have people coming to us all the time for these types of services, so to speak. And I can tell you, it works. Study shows that it works. Feedback shows that it works, and whatnot too. So those are things people can do, right? So if you're going through any sort of separation in terms of debt, these are things you can do. And keep in mind, if you're not going through that now, you will at some point, right? So when somebody is going through some sort of loss in terms of debt, it is not a bad luck on their end in any shape or form. All it means that it is their time to kind of go through those separation. But our time is coming as well too, is right. And so being prepared for it makes a huge difference for sure. It really kind of makes a huge difference in terms of how you manage it, how you handle, all the unexpected pieces that comes with it, right? Another thing to keep in mind too when it comes to death is it all depends on the situation. It all depends who passed away. If a husband, or spouse and whatnot, you do not want to make, any sort of big decision. Meaning that, let's say you have a spouse and a spouse pass away, you do not want to automatically sell out your house and all of those types of things, right? You want to give it some good thought. You want to plan things well before you make any sort of big decision. Okay? And the key thing too is to also you really want to be patient with yourself because a lot of times we will question things, right? We will question things and we will kind of want to know, ask ourselves as to why it's happening to us, right? Those are normal things because as much as we know for sure that death is a guaranteed thing, in a sense, we're not fully prepared for it, right? And so forth. And so sometimes, um, there might be a lot of blaming as well too, in different ways, depending what the situation is, depending how the person passed away, all of these kinds of things. But when the person is gone, there's absolutely nothing you can do, except if you have some sort of faith. For those, folks who have faith, and you'll find that certain people will still do things for the person that's gone. Right. And some people might say, well, it's not making any sense. The person is no longer here. But people also need closure and also um, if people are really religious and so forth, and they're spiritually connected, um, they will still find a way to kind of stay connected to the departed soul, right? While they're here and while they can do some certain things. So that's the only reason why I come on here. I was really looking forward to speak with Nadira, as folks will know. Many of you may have been following, this story, and having her here would have been more of talking about the grief and how challenging it is of leaving, of losing somebody. It would have been along the line, kind of what I'm talking about here, but we will have her back, and or we'll attempt to have her Tuesday, 6 o'clock Eastern Ontario time. All right, and so that's the main thing I wanted to kind of share. But that's happening. I know it probably it's a little bit of a disappointment in different ways, but these things happen when you do live shows. We try for good. I believe over 20 minutes. I was able to see her clearly and things like that. So it's just that I couldn't hear her. But we are working on that, and hopefully we can get her on here, and we'll kind of talk to her. And so I just want to recap what I said. There are a few things we can do when if and when we lost somebody, right, in terms of debt, because when they're gone, we want to make sure that we accept that they are no longer here. Not easy to do, but that's going to be a good place to start. And you also have to embrace your own individual personal feelings that you feel. I don't know what people feel. We all feel different things, right? Not uncommon for people to feel sad, not uncommon for people to be angry and all of that. These are something people are angry on God too, right? Because if they put all their faith in God and then something like that happened, people start to question these things as well, right? It's all part of the grieving process, right? And one of the most important things, as I mentioned, everybody grieve at their own pace, right? And for some people, I know people, they are still grieving for years and years, for decades. They can't get certain things over with, right? And that is okay. That's something they have to embrace. If we know those people, if they're in our circle, we have to accept that as well too. But one of the key thing is seek support. A lot of people do not do that for different things, for different reasons. But seeking professional help is it's such a good thing. That way you have a professional person to kind of guide you along, right? Because people, as you will see in social media, people have their own opinion on things and so forth, and that can be hard, right? That can be hard in different ways. Um, and the bottom line is, at the end of it all, none of us can feed off from empty buckets. So we really have to take good care of our own health as well, too, right? So even though somebody passed away, which is extremely hard and difficult, we cannot allow that to let everything else slide, right? We have to make sure we are taking control of our health, physical health, mental health, so that we can carry on, especially if we have kids and so forth, so that we are still being role model and so forth for them, right? And I mentioned about the big decision. A lot of times, if something happened, people will do a lot of big, quick decision, which can come back to haunt you as well. So you want to take your time and do your things properly, especially if people don't have left behind will and things of that sort, right? And if and a lot of people, as I was mentioning too, a lot of people still find a way to honor the deceased person, right? And like I said, for a lot of people, it wouldn't make any sense at all, because people will say, well, look, the person is no longer here. But the bottom line is, if you find a creative way to still honor that deceased person, it will definitely make a huge difference and give you some sort of closure and sort of meaning life as well too. And it all depends on your closeness with the person as well, to what relationship you've had, all of those things, okay, right? And I mean, you also obviously want to be patient with yourself, right? Don't beat up yourself much, kind of thing. But connecting with people is key, right? Extremely important for people to connect with people. Find a way to connect with people. There's nothing better than that. Connecting with people is key. There's so many different ways for people to connect with people. That will make all the difference. So I'm going to wind it down here, but I will kind of just play back this little instrumental that I did, because it kind of fits nicely. It's just instrumental, but the song itself has such a beautiful meaning to it. No, let's see. I'm not sure if you folks can hear it, so that's another problem here. Let me see here. Let me stop that. I gotta go here. Okay, that's that. Yeah, yeah. And anyways, I'm not sure if you folks can hear me. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. If you folks can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up or so? For curiosity, I just want to make sure we are better prepared um, for when we're going to have Nadira on the show. If you guys can let me know that you're hearing or not hearing, it will be good. Hearing, you guys can hear? Yes, no? Okay. Okay, so I see a thumbs up there. So let me just see here. What's on here? Okay, so this is happening here. So, okay, good. All right. So folks, for those of you who may have tuned in halfway through, I just want to remind you that Narira, who we are supposed to have on this show as our guest, was unable to connect. We had some technical difficulties, but we are um, planning to have her on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at 6 p.m. Normally, as I mentioned, we do our shows on a Sunday, but because of the situation we've had, we are hopeful that we can have her back on Tuesday. But it's going to be a good show for you to kind of join, and she will need that support as well too. Because as you would know, losing somebody it's extremely difficult, right? Especially being a mother and losing a child. So thank you for watching. Do know we appreciate your time, and we hope that you can join us. You can watch my page for the updated information and things of that sort. But for now, take it easy. Until next time, my name is Dr. Narine Supram, wishing you a great today and a better tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.